Hello, beautiful people. The following is a pelvis balancing practice where we open certain tissues in order to find full force transmission in other areas to be able to fully utilize the myofascial structures around our pelvis and also find enough mobility and dynamic stability in movement. We begin on all fours with the toes tucked. And spread your toes wide because we want to stretch our intrinsics too and our toes. Keep them mobile and open. Now tilt your pelvis forward and back and notice how it moves in space. It may have a little bit of a wobble and a bit of like a detour in there. It could be like making a little, in German we say an egg movement, like a kind of like eggs around, like an egg would roll. And then tilt your pelvis back, rounding through the hand, collarbones move out wide, and your pelvic floor and abdominals are engaged. And sway your pelvis from side to side, just opening the tissues on the back of the pelvis. And as you sway from side to side, move further back, and you're holding from the tissues behind your pubic bone, lifting it up towards the navel, and lower abdominals, deep abdominals are engaged here to support the opening of your lower back as you breathe in. Now stay in the shifted back position, center your pelvis over your feet and tilt your pelvis into a centered space and your spine as well. Untuck your toes and sit back into a child's pose and sliding your pelvis from side to side gently. Opening the back of the body, pause in the middle, bring your knees together to find a little bit more height for the lower back to flex over. You can stack your fists and then breathe into the lower back. Exhale, softening the front of the hips. Let's do one more inhale. Exhale, roll back up. And then take your arms forward and up, reach them into a V shape, lift your heart up, inhale, interlace your fingers behind you and lift your heart, little bend in the elbows, and you can tuck your chin slightly in to support your neck in the back, or if you like, you can also lift the chin up to you and turn your head from side to side, opening the tissues in the front body, in the deep front, and then come back to center. Move your arms forward. You're shifting forward into a kneeling plank. Fluid transition here. Tailbone reaches long, collarbones open, and then lower down onto your belly. Take your hands in front of you. You can make a little triangle shape or keep them facing forward and roll from side to side, pressing the pelvis slightly down, reaching your tailbone back. And we're just mobilizing tissues now in the front of the hip. Ground now your pelvis into a centered position, ground your pubic bone down onto the mat, and especially those who had a cesarean or some kind of abdominal operation, maybe this may be beautiful, but for many people this is a fascial roundhouse pubic bone that can be beautifully affecting everything else. Now begin to make figure eights with your pelvis, and your pubic bone still reaches down into the mat. So you're kind of pinning the tissues down whilst moving your pelvis within the tissues of the front of the pelvis, creating a mobilization, a densification, and then center the pelvis, roll onto your right hip, and forward and back again, keeping the tailbone reaching long if possible, and see if you notice where you move over your IT band here. Again, mobilizing tissues, kind of rubbing your pelvis along the mat. If you like, you can move it up and down as well, pinning the tissues down, or you roll from side to side. And then come back to the middle, roll over to your other side and move forward and back, and the weight of your bones moves down towards the floor through your pelvis, not through, but onto the tissues of your pelvis. And you can roll the pelvis, shift up and down a little bit, and notice where there's some stickiness, and come back into center. Excellent. Take your hands to the side and tuck your toes under, abdominals slightly engaged. Push yourself up into a kneeling plank, tailbone long. Push yourself back into a downward facing dog. Reach your heels down, but they don't need to come onto the floor. And extend your knees, keeping the spine long, tractioning the lumbars by reaching your tailbone up towards the ceiling. And don't lose this length in the lower back by trying to bring the heels down. I rather want to see you long in the lower back and soft in the rib cage. Chin slightly tucked, head lifted off the mat as if you would have like something smelly on the mat, and then reaching the heels down if you like. And now with this deep fold in the front of the hip, you begin to pedal your feet. Your abdominals are soft, your organs, your pelvic organs are unweighted, unloaded. And then turn your feet out. We change now the angle of the feet and still pedal your feet very slowly by keeping also the length of your lower back. Turn the feet in. So turning in and out. And then center again. Now roll forward into a plank position, full force transmission from the arms, collarbones reach wide, elbows smiling forward, and then bring the knees down, and you come onto your knees and untuck your toes. Your hands are under the shoulders for now. Round your lower back by lifting pelvic floor abdominals in the front. Take an inhale here. Exhale, shift back. And now find this spot where you really have to lift from your front body. And we just opened all those tissues in the front of the body. So there should be beautiful force transmission here. Tailbone lifts towards the pubic bone. Can you do this a little bit more? And maybe you can shift slightly back. Your hands have left the ground, or the fingertips almost touching the ground, palms facing each other. Stay here for a few breaths and maybe reaching one hand further than the other, gliding those tissues more superficially off the thoracolumbar fascia from the lats into the lower back. And then center the arms again. Take another breath in here. Unclench your glutes, but lift from your pelvic floor and abdominals. And then take your hands onto the floor. You can do cupcake hands, almost not touching the floor, and center the pelvis, center the spine. So lifting the sit bone slightly up, tailbone reaches away, and the spine elongates. And let's do this again. You curl in the shifted back position and then elongate again. Bit of glute activation here. Curl. And then elongate spine and pelvis again. Take your hands forward onto the mat. You're in a 4-point kneeling position or tabletop position. Reach your right leg out back and see that your pelvis is level, not hiked up or down, or not lifted up towards the rib cage on the right side. Now reach through the big toe, lengthening through the inner seam, the inner thigh, and take your leg out to the side. Doesn't have to go all the way in line with the hip, can be a bit further back as well. See what's possible for you. And with a long spine, shift your pelvis back and forward. And see now that the pelvis is leveled. Here I want to have like a cup sitting on my lower back. And now we open the inseam of the leg. Now shift back, walk your hands slightly forward, curl your tailbone down, and then roll forward, a small wave over your hands. Let's do this again. Inhale, shift back, and exhale, curl forward. Now whilst you're shifting back, shift back and see that you're not hiking up the left hip nor the right, and curl forward. Excellent. Hands come under your body again. You bring the leg behind you, and now lift your leg up from the inner thigh, inside of your big toe, and with the inhalation you lower, exhale you lift. And it's really the femur, your thigh bone, lifting and moving in the hip socket. The pelvis is not moving at all. Lift up, and now bend the knee, and you're in plantar flexion here, so point the toes and the whole foot, and then exhale, lift from the inner knee up. Inhale, the pelvis is in stillness. It's really just your glutes and adductor magnus, hamstrings working a little bit here, lifting the leg up and down. So minimal movement. Doesn't have to come all the way down. It's more like, how far can I go into hip extension without moving my pelvis? And now we've prepared the front of the body to open by rolling from side to side. And that should be a bit more possible for us here. Couple more lifts. Stay here, lift and hold, and then extend the leg, dorsiflex the foot, and take it over your left leg. Shift back, opening now the back of the hip on the left side. Stay here for a moment. Come back to center. Center the leg. And now shift back here and keep the pelvis as centered as possible as well. Abdominals are slightly engaged. Your hands are in front of your shoulders. So this should be not easy to do. It's a bit of a balancing act. With your exhalation, lift your leg up and inhale, lower down again. Exhale, stabilizing through the left hip. Inhale. Let's do one more. Exhale, lift. And inhale, lower. Take the knee underneath. Bring your pelvis over your thighs. And without moving the pelvis away from the thighs or not shifting forward or back, tilt your pelvis back. Tailbone heavy. Tailbone moves towards pubic bone towards navel. Take an inhale into your lower back. And exhale, shift back again. The hands float off the mat, palms facing each other. Inhale here. And exhale, center the pelvis. Hands move onto the mat. Shift forward again. Grounding down through the hands. Open up the collarbones and your outside edges of the hands are firmly attached to the floor, and you do like a little gecko hands here. Slide on your left leg and then move it out to the side and bring the outside edge of your foot down. And as said, you don't have to bring it all the way forward. And with a long spine, shift forward and back and see if you can keep equal length in your torso and just simply flexing through that right hip so the knee comes closer towards the pelvis. Your heart reaches forward. Now shift back, reach your arms further forward. So you lengthen through the whole arm lines here. And exhale, curl the spine, curl and move forward with your shoulders over your hands. Inhale, shift back again. Exhale. And we're gliding through this adductor attachment, the inner thighs, opening up and helping us for better force transmission here when we lift the leg as well. And this will help us also to walk with more ease, with a little bit beautiful of a hip sway that is not excessive. In this position, bring your leg back behind you. And take your leg up, exhale, inhale, lower, lifting from the inner left toe, inner left knee, inner left thigh, so your thigh bone is not rolling out as you lift up. And remember, you want to keep the pelvis as still as possible. It's really the thigh bone moving in the hip socket up and down, and your glutes are working here beautifully. Lift up, bend the knee, and go into hip extension. And lower a little bit, hip extension, and lower. Just little movements here. And where is now our fluency, our movement, kinesthetic finesse that we have here, keeping the pelvis still in space and really just extending through the hip. The glutes are working, inner thigh muscles lifting up, helping deep front line, helps beautifully. And obviously you can have your hands underneath too. I just want to take a little bit of weight out of my wrists. Not that I have to, but it's nice to do in between. So, and then extend the leg again and take it over to the right, over your right leg. Shift back with your pelvis. And your pelvis is now shifted and swayed over to the right and back. The tissues are tensioned on your right leg. Take an inhale here. And exhale, come forward again. Take your leg over, shift yourself back further. Your hands are in front of your shoulders, further or less further away, stabilizing through the right hip, and then lift the left leg up as you exhale. Keeping the torso equal length. So try not to hike your right hip up towards the right rib cage. And inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Once more. Exhale, lift. And inhale, lower. Shift forward. Take your left leg underneath. And curl your pelvis again. So the pelvis is over your thigh bones now. And then you, without moving the pelvis at all, or shifting the pelvis rather, your pelvis will move to bring your tailbone towards your pubic bone. Can you first, before you move through your pelvis through your abdominals, can you lift your pelvic floor? So meaning the tissues between your pubic tailbone and your pubic bone engage. So as if you would want to pull muscularly your tailbone towards your pubic bone. Can you feel that? Maybe you can, maybe you cannot yet. And this is now this sling that we have from tailbone, pubic bone up to rectus abdominis. So it's very gently, almost nothing moving here. And this is how we can initiate this motion. So if you lift pelvic floor, meaning the tissue between tailbone and pubic bone, lift that towards the pubic bone. And then the pubic bone lifts towards the navel. And slowly now tilt the pelvis back. Rectus abdominis joins in, and then tilt the pelvis back. Good. Take an inhale here, pushing the hands now into the mat a little bit more, as if you would want to lift off through your rib cage. Inhale. Exhale. Shift back. Take an inhale into the lower back. Exhale. One more inhale. And exhale. Shift back into a kneeling pose. Sitting up. Take your arms forward and up into a V shape. And lift your heart up. Take an inhale. Exhale. Hands behind your back. Interlace the fingers. Now change the interlace to challenge your habits a little bit. Knee elbows are still a little bit bent to allow the collarbones to open slightly more. And then push the hands down. So the knuckles move down. And your heart lifts up at the same time. So take an inhale here. And exhale, center. Let's do this one more time. Knuckles move down, heart lifts. Inhale, and you can either keep the chin slightly tucked and just bring your gaze up, or you lift the heart, lift the chin, turn the head from side to side, opening the tissue in the front of the neck. And then take the head to center, and center now your upper body. Roll and wiggle yourself out and enjoy your walking. I hope you enjoyed this practice with your pelvis now beautifully, hopefully tissue leveled. Enjoy.